So I'm out taking Logan for a walk, and I thought I'd take the opportunity to share some of my thoughts on a blog post on Muay Thai Guy that was called Muay Thai Is Dead and You Killed It. So a very provocative title and stir up a bit of controversy, I guess. But I think that the author seemed to have more of a freestyle kickboxing background, and I thought there were some misconceptions that I thought I'd share my ideas on. So one point was that Muay Thai doesn't use more than 3 strikes in combination, and although not strictly true, of course, most of the time that's about right. But that's not a bad thing. Because of the way that Muay Thai is scored, it rewards effect. So if you're just busy and not landing a technique that's actually demonstrating effect, knocking your opponent off balance, damaging them in some way, then it's not scoring, so you're wasting your effort. So shots are thrown to set up the big shot, and then you kind of punctuate it with a meaningful shot that's going to demonstrate an effect on your opponent and hurt them. So if you're kind of doing long combinations that aren't having an effect, dog is mad, then you're wasting effort. And we tend to work it so that longer combinations are actually chunks of 2s or 3s in combination. So you throw a 2 or 3 part combination. You're then observing what openings come along, and then you're instinctively reacting with another 2 or 3 part combination on the end. So longer combos tend to be more effective when they're chunked, as I call them, into smaller pieces. Another point made was that Muay Thai is repetitive and boring. So again, I guess because you don't see hold on, the dog's tangling me up, it's going to do a spin. Get out of the lead there. Because only effective shots score, you don't see a massive variation like you perhaps would do in other freestyle martial arts, especially where more flashy techniques score more. It's not that case in Muay Thai. If it didn't do some damage, it doesn't score. It doesn't matter how flashy it was. So you're not going to risk throwing something that's going to give your opponent the opportunity to score on you and make you lose balance or damage you. So you're going to keep it more simple, and that's why it's so effective. There are outliers like Sanchai who can pull off very, very tricky moves, and for him to be able to do that in a style like Muay Thai is really impressive. Not everybody can do that, and actually if you try and emulate that, then you're going to find you coming unstuck. So if you've got you've got the athletic qualities and the timing that Sanchai's got, then you can pull that stuff off. But if you're not, you're probably just going to end up with your opponent kind of just walking through whatever you're doing, banging you with a very simple technique and scoring very effectively, and even stopping you. And actually, one of the things that attracted me to Thai boxing is that it's not overtly sort of pretty and flowery. So it's more about raw physics, applying your strength and your power on your opponent, and just getting in there and getting the job done. That to me has a beauty as well. It's basically a battlefield art that's been put into the ring with rules to help people not get seriously hurt, but it's still got that raw element of, at the end of the day, you're just trying to stop your opponent as quickly as possible. And another point I'd like to make is that although it may seem repetitive, it's more down to the style that you apply. So there might not be the massive variation of techniques, but the actual different ways that you'll throw the reduced vocabulary of different techniques in Muay Thai makes for a big repertoire. And it's more of a case, in my opinion, of finding a fight style that works for you. I'm gonna get tangled again, hold on. Nice one, Logan. Okay, so it's more of a case of you plugging in those techniques into your fight style. So whether you're fighting with more of an aggressive style where you're coming forwards, or whether you're more of an elusive style and keeping away, or whether you're a tricky style, that kind of Sanchai style, very elusive, very tricky, faking and going elsewhere, or whether you're more of that counter style where you're waiting for your opponent to go first, and then you take them afterwards. You return fire, let them go first, bang them afterwards. So it's plugging in that that repertoire of techniques into that style. And it's about finding your own style, to be honest, rather than trying to emulate anybody else's. And another point that was made was that that head movement in Muay Thai is non-existent, and not strictly true. I mean, there are fighters that do use quite a bit of head movement, but it's not used all the time. And again, that's mainly because of the rules. Because if you're too evasive with the head, basically you're not being that mobile with your base of support, with your legs. And of course in Muay Thai we can kick the legs. So someone who's overly evasive with the head will suffer with low kicks. They're going to get caught. I'll get tangled up here with the dog. They're going to get caught with low kicks. Also, if you're ducking and bobbing your head around too much, especially going too low, of course there's the knee, and you can get caught with the knee to the head. So anyone who's tried to use more of a boxing style evasion, ducking down in front, is going to find they get kneed in the head, and they will stop doing that. So you've got to choose when to use that technique, and if you overuse it all the time in Thai boxing, you're going to suffer for it. So it's use it to effect, but don't overuse it, because you'll get caught out. And another point that was made was that that the footwork in Muay Thai was deemed abysmal. But again, it's evolved to suit the scoring system. So it's about balance before, during and after you throw your techniques. If you're losing balance, then you're giving away points to your opponent effectively. So if you're overtly flashy with your footwork and losing balance as a result, you know, you just have to have an opponent who's going to walk through what you're doing and hit you with a relatively ineffective technique. But if you've lost balance as a result, then they've scored really nicely. So therefore the footwork is perfect for the style, because it's very grounded. You can't move your opponent, but you're able to deliver your own force very effectively. So it is simple, it's very direct, and that is the style. It's why it's effective as a full contact martial art. And if you're too sort of flashy and varied with your footwork, most people are going to struggle with it. But there was a point raised in the article that I definitely do agree with, and that was not to be too robotic in your approach to your style and Thai boxing. So the more individual and unique you can be, the more successful you're going to be, in my opinion. So if you can, rather than copying someone else's moves, it's about developing a style. And the more unique your style to you, the more individualized, the more successful you're going to be. Stop trying to emulate fighters perfectly. Pick certain bits out of the repertoire, try them out, see if they fit you. Don't even emulate your coaches. You know, again, pick parts of what they do, but their style is theirs. Something that works for them may not work too well for you, and vice versa. So plug and play, basically. Try things out. If something fits your style, use it, make it your own. But the more individual you can be, the more successful you're going to be in the ring, because it is about styles making fights. And if your style happens to actually mess up your opponent's style, then you're going to win. Doesn't necessarily mean that the best fighter wins. It's more like whose style interferes with the other fighter's style the most. They're going to be the ones that succeed. So the more adaptable you can be, the better as well. So if you're able to adjust your style to suit what your opponent's throwing at you, then you're going to win that fight as well. If you're kind of a bit of a one-trick pony, then if what you're doing isn't working, then you've failed, and you're just relying on pure fitness to get through. Always useful to have that fitness and that strength and that power, but your style is key. Be as individual as you can, exploit your strengths, and strengthen your weaknesses so that you're not too exposed anywhere, and go out and fight Muay Thai. Don't worry about trying to be too flamboyant. At the end of the day, people go to watch Muay Thai because it's effective, and if you can stop your opponent and take the decision away from the judges, keep it in your own hands, where you actually stop your opponent, that's what you're looking to do, and that's what Muay Thai is, in my opinion.